Alright guys, so Caught Stealing was a movie that I wasn't even looking forward to. You know, I was watching the trailer and I was like, man, come on. Does anyone think this is gonna be good? Like besides the cast, I just think it looked generic. Like the plot, everything looked kind of goofy. Wasn't really feeling it. So I went into it and I was like, man, I don't even want to go. You know, I should just skip this. But whatever, I'll just watch it and then I'll roast it afterwards. But not gonna lie, guys, after watching the movie, I gotta say I was pleasantly surprised. And I'm not gonna say it's a great movie, but it was entertaining enough for me to enjoy it. Now, this is a Darren Aronofsky film, and he's done The Whale and Requiem of a Dream. You know, this dude can either give you a 5-course meal or some dang dog food. Like, no in between. It's really good or bad. And this, I think, kind of falls more into the good. You know, not necessarily bad. With that, you have Austin Butler, Zoe Kravitz as the main stars, along with Bad Bunny, Kingpin, and some other supporting actors who did a good job in here. Alright, so this movie's about a guy named Hank Thompson who's a washed up ex-baseball player. You know, he used to be a star, was going to the leagues, loved the Giants. But after a tragic accident left him not being able to play anymore, he just watches the games from home and works at a bar. Kind of like all the rest of us who peaked in high school sports. And then one day his neighbor Russ, who if you had to picture him would be like a mixture of a Batman villain with a crackhead, you know, kind of like that, asked him to take care of his cat for a few days while Russ leaves the country, you know, to see his dad. And from there, the plot goes full chaos mode. You know, you have Russian mobsters, Orthodox hitmen, Bad Bunny with a gun. Basically all kinds of craziness thrown into the movie. And reportedly the budget is around 40 million. You know, I wasn't quite sure on the correct numbers, but that's what I was reading. For the runtime, it's only an hour and 47 minutes long, you know, so it actually goes by pretty quick. And as far as the critics go, we have an 86 on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.3 on IMDb. So overall, I think a pretty fair rating for this movie. Now, this is like a weirdly simple but entertaining movie. So let me just list some pros and cons just to give you a better idea of, you know, the movie and what to really expect from it. So the movie hops straight into it, you know, it doesn't waste 40 minutes of exposition. The dude gets the cat, and then from there, the bad guys are already coming and he's already losing a kidney. So things move quickly on this. And then as he starts getting involved, the stakes start to rise more and more. And honestly, this movie was raw. There was some raw scenes in here where, I mean, take away the rated X scene at the beginning of the movie. There was a death scene that made a dude in my theater just like shout, like, oh! Along with that, the suspense of the movie. You know, they do a good job of having certain characters in here, like Zoe Kravitz, play a role around Austin Butler, and just have the dynamic there where the stakes start to rise. You wonder what's going to happen to her and some other characters that he's kind of close to, and so the suspense starts to rise. You start to wonder what's going to happen because of those raw scenes in here, just the raw kills and whatnot. It gets you wondering, like, okay, they're not afraid to do this. Let's see how they're going to do this, you know? And I think the best thing about this movie was Austin Butler himself. You know, he put on 35 pounds for this movie, and he even slept in his underwear on set. Now, I don't know if that was method acting or what, but it actually worked, and you really felt his presence throughout this movie. I just think he did a good job as the lead, and even for me, I was doubting him. You know, I wasn't sure if he could be the lead. I wasn't super excited that he was the main star of the movie, but after watching this and after seeing him, I gotta say, he did a good job, and I would honestly be willing to see more of what he does in the future. And the last thing I'll say is they did some callbacks throughout the movie, you know, whether there were certain scenes that happened that tied together, you know, from the beginning of the movie they show it to like the end or like the middle. There's certain things that when it clicks, when it reconnects, you're like, dang, like that's crazy, you know, stuff like that. And it's the way it all ties back together. They're kind of like the parallels, you know, for certain aspects, certain scenes, I thought worked really well. And I mean, those are really the pros. Nothing crazy in here. The story wasn't crazy, but this movie was entertaining enough and had a lot of good things going for it. But with that, let's keep it real. You know, the movie had me rolling my eyes at some point. So Matt Smith's character, like I said, he's the mix between a Batman villain and a crackhead. And somehow this is the guy who's supposed to be handling all the money. He's like the weird uncle who invests in NFTs. Someone who doesn't make sense. Just goofy. Honestly, his character was goofy. You're telling me this dude is trusted with big money and mob connections? Like, come on, look at him. Like, there's no way. And so that was kind of goofy. I don't know why they went with that character when the other ones were sort of like grounded or realistic. This guy was just a weirdo. Not only that, there are some plot things where they just don't really explain. They just throw it out there. You know, this happened. This character, it's cool with this character. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're just showing it. You know, there's not really much build up. Yeah, you can maybe guess it, I guess, but there's not really much to it. And they just, oh, yep, they're together. You know, that happens. And, you know, stuff like that. Kind of something that, I don't know, it's kind of dumb. And not to mention there was a scene where this woman cop took down Austin Butler in like 2 shots. Like, come on, bro. 30. He put on 35 pounds to just get two-shotted. Oh, like there was just stuff like that. It's like, come on. I get it. I get what you're doing, but come on, come on. And not to mention, while Jewish stereotypes are already a hot topic in today's day and age, the movie said, you know what's a good idea? Orthodox hitman shooting up a club like GTA 5. It's like, dang, they just have Jews walking in point blank, not even hiding it. They literally just walk up with their silencer, boom, 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 grenades going off, going crazy, and then they drive off like nothing happened. And they didn't get caught either. Oh my gosh. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that was kind of that was a choice. That was a choice. But yeah, guys, I'm not saying this movie was perfect. You know, it was simple. Almost too simple. A little bit weird as well, but also entertaining. And overall, if I had to give this a rank, I'm probably gonna give it the salty popcorn. It's worth a theater watch if you want to watch Austin Butler yell at a cat and run from mobsters. But you could also wait for Netflix, you know, it won't hurt anything. Anyways, guys, those are my thoughts. Have you checked out Caught Stealing, or are you looking forward to watching it, or you're not gonna watch it? You know, comment below. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.